Imagine one day you realize you have strings, not unlike Pinocchio. They pull you this way and that. Sometimes they act in accord, sometimes in opposition to one another, and sometimes in ways you just can't understand. Then imagine you realize that while the strings guide you to certain actions, you still have a choice as to whether or not you take them. You also discover that the strings attached to you can affect you, but you can affect them, and that with a twist or a pull you can have an impact on other objects, ideas, and people that are tied to you. You can't really control people. For one thing, they have a million other strings you can't see, with new ones that seem to form and reach out into the world every second of every day. And there's also the fact that as a fellow puppet, you are aghast at the very idea. The one thing you can do is help others see their own strings, to realize how their actions affect the world around them, and in turn find or gain even more strings. Strings tie you up, but are also that which make movement and life possible. A lot of what I think about these days is how to see and explore those strings. One part of being a puppeteer I always found to be rather peaceful was untangling a marionette before a show, making sure the puppets were prepared and able to take the stage. I didn't realize I was untangling and preparing myself at the same time. In a sense, I still am. One of the differences between then and now, though, is my focus. Where it used to be all about me and my stories and my ideas, now it's different. Now, I'm far more fascinated by what people can create together, especially as relates to understanding the connections that exist between us, that make us simultaneously individuals and members of a community, that allow us to act and be acted upon. I am especially fascinated by objects and games that can be used to facilitate these understandings, the tools we can use to create, unravel, and understand the narratives of life. For example, in a Foucault genealogy project, I created a set of tarot cards, modified to show the faces of people and things that have influenced me. I reasoned that most people could not be summed up in a single positive or negative term, and their influences made more sense in relation to one another. So the way the meaning of the cards depends on their placement and orientation appealed to me artistically and metaphorically. However, one thing I forgot to account for was the existence of a reader. Normally, when using tarot cards, there are two active participants. The person the reading is for shuffles the deck and blindly chooses the cards, while the reader helps interpret them. While I believe in the cards as a tool for self-exploration rather than for fortune-telling, either way, they are concerned with the subject's past, present, and future. They are also concerned with what the subject wants to hear, expects to hear, or what they need to hear. The cards function as an artifact for collaboratively mapping the narrative of the subject's life, or a version of it anyway, with the hope of helping to make some sense of their world. Another tool I enjoy using is storytelling games, in which I've been investigating several ideas, considering how the games can help participants gain an understanding of the context ideas come from or are applied in, how creating a fictional mouthpiece can let us express thoughts or feelings that might otherwise have lurked in our depths, and how a community of creators can make an incredibly rich and developed world that is believable because of its multi-dimensional existence. One game I have been devising is What to Do About Michael, in which participants take on the role of teachers they created. They're having a meeting about a troubled student, a simulacrum of a young Michel Foucault. The idea is that the in-game experience will provide an illustration of and context for Foucault's ideas, and that the added dimensionality of playing a self-created character will allow the players to feel close enough to the situation to form emotional understandings, but removed in a manner that helps enable critical thought and reflection. Both these pieces, the interior making of meaning and the examination of the world and its systems, are united by their interconnectedness. They rely on the actions of more than one person to achieve a broader view of the complex strings that connect and affect our world. While I believe we can shift our viewpoint to see the world through a multitude of lenses, and that the storytelling game I propose honors that, I also believe that when we allow for that process to be a collaboration, we open the door to gain and share new insights and opportunities. I've come to believe this is true about art, about research, and about teaching. As far as I know, collaborative storytelling, whatever the media, has thus far not received much attention as an arts-based research, and it's the potential and the challenges of that world that I now set out to explore.